Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, November 23rd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Indiana game is today. The game against Michigan, yes, in just 7 days. Cannot believe the 2024 college football regular season is so close to being over. You will have two more chances to watch the Ohio State Buckeyes play in the Horseshoe this weekend, or this season, starting with this weekend. That is the first one against the Indiana Hoosiers, kicking off at noon. Going to have plenty to talk about around that one. Today, you're going to be hearing directly from Ohio State head coach Ryan Day and a couple of the Buckeyes. This is a show we typically get to earlier in the week, and we just had a lot of stuff to talk about this week, so getting a little later than normal, but that's okay. Still some interesting stuff to hear from Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. We're going to start with him. Let's start with the big story of the week, the injury to starting center Seth McLaughlin, and what the plan is moving forward for the Buckeyes.
Seth tore his Achilles on a non-contact injury, and we're crushed for Seth, and our team. But once that wears off, you got to move on, and it's an next man up mentality, and certainly nobody cares. And so we'll make adjustments, and we'll move Carson to center, and move Austin in there to left guard, and those guys were in there today. Had a very good practice, very spirited practice, and I thought, Will did a great job, after that went down yesterday and then even today. And so, excited for those guys to get in there and have a great game. And, it's a great opportunity for those guys now. And they both played a lot of football. We won a lot of games with Carson at center, and Austin's played. And again, it's like a body blow when something like that happens. Seth means a lot to this team and what he's done since he's been here. We'll talk about that in another moment, but we're going to move on and focus on the future and focus on the guys that'll be in the game.
This is the second time in a row the Buckeyes have been headed into a really big game. Last one was Penn State. This one, Indiana, both top 5 showdowns when they've been forced to make an offensive line change. And both times, Carson Hinzman has been right at the middle of it. This time, quite literally at the middle of it, moving now from the left guard position where he started against Penn State and then Purdue and Northwestern, and now moving over to center. How has he continued to sort of grow and develop from the end of last year when he lost his starting job going into the Cotton Bowl until now?
Well, I see some confidence in him. I think he's learned a lot from Seth this year. I think they've been great together. I think he gained a lot of confidence coming out of the Penn State game. He's playing with a lot of confidence. He had a very good practice today. So he has experience too at center, so he's done it. And I think having Will there, Will's been great today with him, and they communicate well in terms of making the IDs, and they'll meet together and make sure they're on the same page. But yeah, I mean, he's every year as an offensive lineman, you grow, you change, you learn, and he'll be ready this weekend.
The Buckeyes ended up going with Hinzman and Austin Siereveld going into this game, but there were a couple other names that were sort of bandied about, and it sounded like they were bandied about within the building as well. Josh Padilla, Luke Montgomery, those were other possible answers to the issue that they were facing this week. So what was that decision-making process like?
Yeah, they're right there too. And, I mentioned that to Luke last week. I think it was during a walkthrough. Like, man, you're a player or two away from being right in the middle of this thing when it matters most. And I think that's the part that, for young players, young linemen is always difficult, is that you're putting the work in on a weekly basis, but maybe you're not seeing the feedback and the plays that you're looking for. Well, they're coming, and they're going to have opportunities to do that. I did think the 3 plays that Padilla was in there last in the Northwestern game, he really took advantage of those. Had 3 really good reps, and so that's what we're looking for when guys get in a game. And so those guys are right there, and they'll have to be ready when we call on them.
Austin Siereveld started the first couple of games of the season at left guard, obviously facing a much tougher opponent than Akron or Western Michigan this week. But how much growth has Ryan Day seen from Austin Siereveld over the last year?
Yeah, a lot of growth, a lot of experience, and being around guys like Donovan, being around guys like Josh, being around guys like Seth, who have played a lot of football, you learn how you go about your business. You learn about what it takes to prepare, the calls, all the things that come with that. And Seth was out there today. He's going to be with these guys, and he's almost like a coach. And there's a lot that goes with playing with the offensive line, and a big part of it is how you go about your business and the confidence that you have across the board when you communicate right. And then ultimately it comes down to getting after people and knocking people off the ball. And I think those guys have built confidence as the season's gone on. They know what it looks like. They've had success, and now they got to be at their best.
And you heard Brian Day sort of make mention earlier about the fact that Seth McLaughlin was still around the team this week. He has been around the team all week long, still making a real significant impact despite that season-ending injury.
Yeah, he'll have surgery next week. That's the plan. I don't know exactly what day he will, but he was in the meetings today. He was out in the field. I just think that he knows these guys well. He knows what's going on in terms of the calls and knows the dynamics. And I just think that it's one thing to have a coach. It's another one thing to have a player or a peer that you can go to for certain things. And there's some things you can talk to your coach about that are easier to talk to another player about. And just about preparation, guys who have been through it this year, know the team dynamics, things like that. And so he's going to be around these guys the best he can and the most he can. Certainly once the surgery happens, he'll need some time to recover. But this week he's going to be around the guys.
Now on to Donovan Jackson, former Ohio State left guard, now Ohio State starting left tackle. He was part of that last line shuffle before the Penn State game, and things have gone pretty well for him so far at that left tackle position. Does having to shuffle the offensive line already once this year, is that in any way helpful with having to do it again now?
I will say when we did it the first time, we told the younger guys or guys who weren't quite in the starting role that some of y'all need to change your mindset. It's not just a starting five. Y'all need to have the mindset. It's like you all have to play. So I would say that the younger guys have been practicing harder. They've been improving at a fast rate. But it sucks what happens. You never wish that on anybody, especially as a guy, first of all, a man of that caliber, a player of that caliber. And, we're all praying for him. And, hopefully there's a speedy recovery, of course. But, it's kind of next man up, man. We all wear blockos on our chest for a reason. We're not here for free vacation. We're here to play football. So guys need to get going. And the guys who are going are we're all confident in what they can do. And now we just got to put it on the field.
The first offensive line change of the year came when Jackson sat out the first couple of games of the season, and Austin Siereveld stepped in for him at that left guard position. So Siereveld replaced Jackson for the first two games of the season. Now he's going to be next to Jackson for the next couple of games. What has Donovan Jackson seen from Siereveld this year?
I believe he's prepared for this moment. He's started 2 games when I was out, so he has game experience, and he's just going to keep rolling with what we have. Obviously, you have to be on the same page, guard and tackle. So I've been, in the film room with him, trying to get on the same page, make sure we see the same things. But I'm excited. He's a athletic monster, man. It's just getting on the same page is key in situations like this.
Coming into the year, there were obviously questions about the depth on the Ohio State offensive line, and it was an area where I think a lot of people thought, well, as long as they don't have a bunch of injuries there, they'll be okay. They can sort of make up for it. Well, now they've kind of been hit with a tidal wave of injuries in the offensive line this room. How, as an offensive lineman, do you deal with that?
Man, it is what it is. Football's a violent sport. Sometimes you get banged up. Sometimes, unfortunately, you get injuries such as the ones we've had in our room. You try to prepare for it, but you never really can. So it's just making sure everyone's ready, making sure the young guys have the mindset of I can go in at any time, not, I'm just going to chill out this year and hopefully next year get my shot. It's like, no, your shot might come this year. And so, unfortunately, that's the scenario we're in. But at the end of the day, we're all recruited here to play football. So we're going to play football.
And finally, the switch from left guard to left tackle a few weeks ago for Donovan Jackson. What is that move like? How difficult of an adjustment is that?
It's a whole nother position. I feel like people think that you're just moving one other spot. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. No, it's a whole other thing. Your footwork's obviously different. You work in space a lot more. You're going against different people. At guard, you're going against guys who are 330, 340. You take one step and they're already trying to bull rush you into the quarterback. At tackle, you got to set out to deep waters against a guy who's probably on 250, runs about as fast as a wideout, and has a 10-yard head start into your chest. And so obviously there's different aspects of it, different viewpoint when it comes to run game. But I would say pass game is probably the biggest difference between it all. But I've gotten a lot of help between the guys on this team, film room, Coach Drev, Coach Salini, obviously Coach Fry, of trying to improve of where I'm at. So I play at the highest level that I know I'm capable of doing.
And finally, a couple quick ones. With Ohio State safety Lathan Ransom, he had some interesting stuff to say this week as well. One of the things he was asked about was Indiana having an extra week to prepare. The Hoosiers were off last weekend, so they had an extra 7 days and an extra week of practice to throw some new stuff into their game plan. How big of a difference does that make for the Ohio State defense trying to figure out what they're going to have coming against them today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be some unscouted plays. They're going to come in with some plays that we haven't seen on film before, just with having so much time to prepare for us. But I think just as far as, obviously we still see stuff on film, but I think just executing our plan at the high level, just not worrying about, oh, they could do this or they could do that, just worrying about our plan, executing at a high level, and yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And finally, one thing that's been a little different for the Ohio State defense this year, they have played more depth than they have in the past. They've gotten a little deeper into the benches and into the rotations, especially in the last few weeks. So playing more depth than usual, playing some of these younger guys more than they maybe would have in a normal situation in the past. What does that do for the team?
Yeah, I think it also obviously keeps the guys, everyone fresh, and then it rotates in some playmakers. We had a lot of playmakers on defense from top to bottom of our depth chart. So everyone getting the opportunity to play and make plays when their number's called, man, it's exciting. And like you said, I think this is the closest our team's ever been together. So just going out there and see a bunch of different dudes make plays, man, it just says a lot about our team.
Well, it is going to be a monster day at Ohio Stadium today. College game day there. The big noon kickoff pregame show is there. And then, of course, a big noon on Fox. When else would the Buckeyes play? 12 noon kickoff on Fox. We will be there. We will have our usual pregame coverage for you. Tony Girdman and I coming from Ohio Stadium. We'll have plenty of that coming for you earlier in the morning. And then, of course, the game. And then we'll have our usual postgame coverage as well. Yes, it's the end of a top 5 game. But then guess what happens as soon as that top 5 game ends? As soon as that clock hits 0, it is Michigan week in Columbus, Ohio. One of my favorite weeks of the year. Guessing it's probably a favorite week for a lot of other folks as well. Oh boy, will there be a lot to talk about the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers, and then the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. It is going to be a great, great day, a great week of information and excitement and insider access, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. For Tony, Kevin, and I cover the team. Mark covers recruiting. Got our whole team of X's and O's gurus. We'll all be working overtime, headed into that Michigan game in the wake of the Indiana game. And then with whatever's coming up later, Big Ten championship game, maybe. We'll know a lot more today. College football playoff, almost certainly. We'll know a little more today. But a great place to be there for all of it is at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you there. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.